Welcome back, everyone. Last night, we brought you the story of what goes on inside some of New Jersey's halfway houses. New York Times profiled the problems that plague the Garden Stakes halfway houses in a three-part series called Unlocked. Now, the series outlined, after 10 months of investigation, a pattern of drug use, gang activity, sexual abuse, all behind the walls of halfway houses in the Garden State. Supposedly halfway houses that are getting good inmates ready for reintegration into society. Some inmates say it is so bad behind those walls they'd rather go back to prison. Now, we spoke with Sam Dolnick, the New York Times reporter, who spent the better part of a year, as I said, investigating this story. He shared with us some anecdotes from his reporting that stuck with him.
The story that sticks with me the most, I think, is the story of Derek West Harris, who went into one of these halfway houses because he had unpaid traffic tickets. And he was killed 2 days later in a robbery inside his room. These places are as large as prisons often, but they have very little of the security. So you've got one, maybe two guards on duty at a time. They're paid $11 an hour. They've received very little training, and they're responsible for 150, 170 inmates. One of their big facilities is right next to a highway, and people would stand on the shoulder of the road and they'd cut open tennis balls and fill them with drugs and then throw them over the fence.
Now, we also spoke with the senior vice president of the company that runs many of the halfway houses profiled in that Time series. He claims that Sam's reporting is not representative of what really goes on behind those halfway house walls.
Frankly, if you were to talk to a more representative example of the 850 people I have working here in New Jersey, you would not hear that account. The inmates that we work with that request to go back to prison, I would say 95% of those people are requesting to go back to prison because the expectations, the demands on them for treatment, structure, and accountability far exceeds the experience that they would have in a prison setting. So to say that someone wants to go back to prison to feel safer, it's simply not true.
Now, the only problem with that, of course, is the numbers. More than 5,000 escapes have happened since 2005 at these facilities, not all under CE's oversight, but still a lot of them that were. And while people may debate some of the numbers, there have been murders here, and the number of eyewitness accounts from former guards, from former inmates, from people that have worked in all different forms, including the sheriffs of the communities where these people are going out to, have been rampant. And for more of that and for some of your feedback, I want to bring Andrew back in here, and our viewers certainly had a lot to say after they saw the piece last night.
Yeah, Rich, and because these facilities that we highlighted and that the Times highlighted were run by a private company, we asked our viewers, you at home, to answer the following question: should halfway houses be privatized? Here's what some of you wrote in to tell us. Tiffany wrote in, there is something fundamentally wrong. If you're going to have a privately run halfway house, then it should only house a maximum of 5 prisoners at a time of the same sex. We also got this tweet that read, quote, not nearly the same accountability as public institutions are held to. Also, the goal should be rehab, not profit. Finally, we got an email from Andrea who wrote in, prisons should not be a for-profit business for the obvious reasons that businesses always want to expand. Expansion in this specific area has a social cost attached to it. Rich?
And there's a lot of questions, oversight. The legislature in New Jersey is now getting into this. So is both the controller and even the governor, who definitely has a direct connection to this firm here, has said that there will be a lot of additional questions in the coming weeks and months.